Hello friends and potential friends. Well, let's see, as you can see, there's still not a lot going on in the lab. Today is Saturday, September 3rd, 2022, and I've still got about a week and a half before I can start planting seeds, maybe 2 weeks. So in a couple of weeks time, this ought to start filling up in here. But meanwhile, I'll show you what is going on. If you caught my canning pears video a while back, you know that I mentioned I took cuttings off of that pear tree. And these are the cuttings. Now as you can see, the leaves are looking a little worse for wear. I've been spraying them several times a day, trying to keep them moist and keep them as alive as possible. But if you look real close in there, it looks like I may have some roots forming. So hopefully those will be going in the ground before too long, and I hope to get 1 or 2 or maybe even 3 pear trees out of the deal. I do still have my bonsai rosemary back there, and it's growing a little bit since I gave it a trim the other day. Actually, that was a couple of weeks ago. In fact, the trimmings are nice and dry. I can take them in the house and start using them. And then back in the back here, I've got my tiny little pineapple top that will be going outside before too long. And then I'll be adding it to the plantation. And out here in the container garden, everything's kind of running on autopilot. There's not a lot for me to do out here right now. I still have some comfrey that needs to go in the ground somewhere. My ever-present mint. There's a couple of avocados back there that'll be going out into the mini orchard before long. A little bit more comfrey. And then all of my ginger and turmeric. Those pretty much just grow on their own. I don't have to do anything with them. They seem to be happy in here. It's mostly shaded right back here underneath this one cactus. I knew the name of that at one time. May have to look it up again. Got a little bit more turmeric growing in my experimental bed, along with the aloe. And there's a couple of comfrey plants that I did get in the ground. Luckily, I've kept those ones alive. More pineapples. These 2 back here are ones that I got fruit from recently. Those are the tops. And then these 2 here are plants that recently gave me fruit. I really don't know whether they're going to make it or not. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. Sometimes they'll give me a pup before they pass away. In fact, I believe that one in the back is a pup that I took off of another plant. Green stalks. Yep, I still haven't done anything with the green stalks. But that'll be coming soon because I'm going to be building some salad towers. Got a few strawberries that are still hanging on. They keep trying to produce runners, but it's still been entirely too hot for them. As you can see, I took apart one of the wooden beds there that was falling apart. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with that space yet, but we'll work it out at some point. Elderberry, still doing pretty good. Out in the main beds, I got plenty of pineapples, as you can see. This bed is still empty, but I'll finish topping that off before long, and that's going to wind up being part of my fall garden. Now the old rosemaries, they're still hanging in there. I can come out and trim herbs off of them anytime I want. And let's see, sweet potatoes from seed. I still haven't done anything about moving these guys, but that's going to be coming pretty soon because they're already starting to branch out and try to reach out to the other beds. Over here in the okra, I see a bunch of pollinators flying around. Plants themselves, they're all leaning over and this way and that way because we've had quite a bit of rain and quite a bit of wind in the last week and a half. Still getting flowers, and I'm still getting pods. There's one there that'll probably come off this afternoon, and I think I saw one. Yep, there it is. There's another one that wasn't there yesterday because I picked 3 or 4 pods out of here yesterday. My second wave of okra is starting to shoot up, doing pretty good. And this guy down here at the end is in a pot. That was a volunteer. Showed up in the lab a while back, so I brought it out here eventually and put it out where it gets some sunlight. And now it's starting to give me okra pods. Haven't done anything with this bed yet. But over here in the corn bed, now if you remember, this is the bed that I kind of suspected might have had some contamination in it. I'm not convinced that it was contaminated, but I let the corn grow anyway. Gives the raccoons something to play with. And I got one ear there that feels like it's filling out pretty good. There's another one over here with silks, and there's a couple more in there. Those are bodacious corn. The rest of this, the smaller ones, are popcorn, and to be honest, they're kind of struggling. I may have to restart that experiment one of these days and see how well I can grow popcorn. This time I'm not doing all that well. Let's see, this bed, I guess we're going to call this my purslane bed because the purslane is taking over the bed. But that's okay because purslane's about the only thing I've got out here that I can munch on when I'm wandering around. And it tastes pretty good. And finally down here, my beans. I did plant some contender beans along this side, and they're up about a foot or so. Some of them are not making it. Once in a while, I actually have to pull a weed out of here. But the pink-eyed purple hull peas, well, I had a full week of below 90-degree temperatures and relatively good rainfall, and these pink-eyed purple hulls started going crazy. And I got bean pods hanging all over the place. Got new flowers coming on. I've been picking half a dozen or more every day. Yeah, it's not a lot, but hey, better than I had before. And when I start picking these ones that are hanging around out here, I'm going to have some shelling to do. There's another purslane that decided to pop up in this bed. And that tastes pretty good too. A couple more sweet potatoes I haven't really been paying much attention to. But these pink-eyed purple hulls, they're kind of impressive. At least to me. I know a lot of people get a lot more yield out of their gardens than I do sometimes. But I just have small spaces for each of the different things that I'm growing. My cabbage collards finally gave it up. And that bed was falling apart, so I went ahead and took it apart. And I'm going to have to move this soil into one of the other metal beds before long. And then down here in the patience garden, it's still trying to test my patience. Once in a while it'll produce another pot or another asparagus spear. There's a nice looking one back there. And there's a little tiny one coming up over here. And there are probably a few more back in the jungle back there where I can't really even see what's going on. But that's not looking too bad, and it just keeps on spitting out spears. The mini orchard, pretty much more of the same. Everything's growing back there. Got the pineapple plantation out in the middle there. Papayas. There's a bunch of beauty berries back in the corner that are ripened. In fact, there's some more beauty berries over there by the trash pile that are ripened. I see the elderberry or the mulberry is standing up nice. Ponderosa lemon, the moringa tree back there. More papayas, avocado, gardenia, lemongrass. This is has to be considered a volunteer hibiscus because I've never planted a hibiscus in a container. So it put itself there, and I'm glad to see it. But really, that's about it out in the garden right now. There's not a lot for me to do except just walk around and enjoy the sights. Everything's pretty much just taking care of itself, and I get to pick a pot or two of okra once in a while and a few beans. So I'm just counting the days. Couple more weeks and I get to start planting seeds again. Oh, and incidentally, I was talking to a friend of mine. Peanut, this is my weather station. Let me get around here where you might be able to see it better. That's what tells me what's going on in my garden right at the moment. This part down here collects rainwater, measures the rain. We got wind direction here, wind speed over here. There's a solar panel on top that measures the amount of light hitting the sensors, measures the ultraviolet, and that thing just keeps me informed of what's going on right here in the garden. Now I have plans to move it over near the middle of the garden at some point, but for right now, that's where it sits. Let me put this on pause and I'll show you the other half of the system. And this is the inside control panel for the weather station. Gives me the date and time, indoor temperature and humidity, outdoor temperature and humidity, barometric pressure, ultraviolet. It's cloudy right now, so it's only at 1. The amount of actual light that's being measured, the wind speed and direction, and the amount of rainfall we've had since midnight. And I can flip it over with this button and see what the maximum readings were for the day. Been up to 84 so far today, and of course 99% humidity. And hit it again, it shows me the lows. Wow, got down to 75 last night. Oh boy, and only 87% humidity. That's transmitted from the sensors outside into this control panel using some sort of Wi-Fi. I don't know whether it's Wi-Fi or Bluetooth, but it works. And then every day I go through and add the readings to my spreadsheet. This first column over here is our high temperature for each day. Starting, let's see, that's July 26th. And as you can see, anything in red is above 90. And I just hit the keyboard. So, get that out of the way. But I got high temperatures. Look, there's a stretch right there. 5 days in a row it didn't make it to 90. Then we got low temperatures, the range of the temperatures, the amount of rainfall. We've been getting some pretty good rainfall in the last week or so. Rainfall to date, we're up to 33 inches. Just a little bit low, to be honest with you. High humidity, low humidity, barometric pressures, high and low. The highest wind speed, ultraviolet readings. That one right there was a killer. Reading of 10 is very high. Actually, a reading of 8 is very high. And for August, we averaged 91.68 degrees for a high, 74.7 for a low. And thanks to this last week or so, our average rainfall for August is up to 7.5 inches, which is about right for the month of August around here. That's basically how I've been handling the weather recordings recently. Now I do have a little fancy device that I can hook into my computer, and with a little bit of programming I can have it start taking the readings and store them in a database for me so that I can have fancy graphs and things like that, but I just haven't done that yet. So anyway, that's where I get my weather information, because I don't really care what they say on TV, because everything they say on TV is coming from the airport, and that's 5 miles from here. And they're entirely different from what I see in my garden every day. So that's it, and I'll see you next time.